There is no one more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. This quote from Goethe reveals a harsh and uncomfortable truth. Many of us believe we are in control of our choices, but in reality, we are trapped in cycles of pleasure and distraction that control us. In this video, we will dive into the idea of how the relentless pursuit of pleasure, so prevalent in modern society, can be the new form of slavery. Are your daily choices truly yours? Or are you, without realizing it, being guided by desires and impulses that distance you from what really matters? We will discuss how this freedom we think we have may actually be an illusion that prevents us from achieving a full and meaningful life. This video will lead you to reflect on your own habits and decisions, making you question, are you in control or are you being controlled? It's time to understand the dangers behind this false sense of freedom and discover how it impacts your personal life. In the book, Brave New World, by Aldous Huxley, describes a futuristic society where people are controlled through pleasure. In this world, emotions are suppressed, and the pursuit of immediate pleasure is encouraged to keep everyone conforming and passive. People do not concern themselves with deep issues or personal growth, as they are always distracted by superficial entertainment and substances that provide a false sense of happiness. Now think about our current world. Are we not living something similar? Social media, consumerism, and the constant need for validation are modern ways of keeping us occupied with small pleasures. We are always searching for something that makes us feel good in the moment, but ultimately leaves us feeling empty. The point is that this relentless pursuit of pleasure leaves us alienated, distanced from the things that truly matter. We are so distracted that we don't take the time to reflect on what we are doing with our lives. Huxley predicted this in his work. When we live only for immediate pleasure, we end up losing control and becoming slaves to these distractions. Therefore, we need to understand the impact of these choices and how they shape us. Goethe's quote, "There is no one more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free," makes us reflect on something very profound. Do we really have control over our choices? Today, we live in a time when we believe we are free, but often we are trapped in habits and impulses that we don't even notice. We are driven to seek instant pleasures without stopping to think about the long-term consequences. When we spend hours scrolling through social media feeds, buying things we don't need, or seeking quick distractions to escape boredom, it seems like we are doing what we want. But are these choices truly ours? Or are we just following a cycle that keeps us in a constant state of searching for satisfaction? This freedom is, in fact, an illusion. The more we give in to these impulses, the further we drift away from what really matters, our goals, our relationships, and our personal growth. We are being controlled by external stimuli, such as the quest for likes, social recognition, and momentary pleasures, which ultimately leave us feeling emptier and more dissatisfied. The big question here is, are we living a fulfilling life, or are we allowing ourselves to be controlled by this false sense of freedom? It's important to stop and reflect on what we are truly seeking and whether it brings us closer to a more meaningful life or simply distances us from our true essence. The relentless pursuit of pleasure can ruin our lives in various ways, starting with how we are led to believe that immediate satisfaction is the path to happiness. But in reality, this constant quest only places us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. The more we chase after small pleasures, the more we need them to fill a void that never seems to disappear. This makes us vulnerable to behaviors and addictions that slowly take control of our actions without us realizing it. The biggest problem is that many of these pleasures come disguised as needs. Social media, excessive consumption, fast food, online games, all are easily accessible and provide a quick dose of pleasure. But what happens when this becomes an obsession? The pursuit of likes on social media, for instance, activates the same reward mechanisms in the brain as drugs like nicotine or alcohol. And just like these substances, we can become addicted to these stimuli. This incessant quest also pulls us away from what really matters, our personal growth, our meaningful relationships, and our search for a deeper purpose. By focusing solely on immediate pleasure, we set aside long-term goals and become prisoners of a superficial life. We end up living in a way where everything revolves around momentary pleasures, leaving us with the feeling that we are never satisfied. It is at this point that the phrase "world controllers encouraged the systematic drugging of their own citizens for the benefit of the state" makes complete sense. It makes perfect sense in the context of the brave new world and our current reality. We can see how the state or modern society uses these pleasures to keep us controlled. When we are always focused on distractions, entertainment, and small doses of instant happiness, we are less inclined to question, think critically, or fight for change. The system wants us distracted, satisfied with the bare minimum, while the real issues are pushed aside. This drug is not just chemical, like tranquilizers and antidepressants, but also the constant distractions that keep society functioning mechanically. The more we are under the influence of these distractions, the further we drift away from a state of mindful and critical awareness. And this serves the interests of those in power, as distracted individuals who are content with little are easier to control. In the long run, living this way can lead us to a crisis of identity and purpose. We begin to ask ourselves why, even having everything that should theoretically make us happy, we still feel a void. The problem is that this cycle of seeking immediate pleasure distances us from true self-actualization, which can only be achieved when we stop seeking external stimuli and start investing in ourselves and the things that truly matter. Therefore, we need to understand that this uncontrolled pursuit of pleasure not only ruins our personal lives, but also turns us into puppets of a larger system where control is maintained through our distraction. By realizing this, we can begin to break free and seek a more meaningful life, where pleasure is not the sole objective, but rather a consequence of living in accordance with our true values and purposes. To escape this modern slavery of pleasure, we must develop a critical awareness of our choices and habits. The first step is to recognize when we are being guided by automatic impulses, seeking only quick and fleeting satisfactions, such as social media or impulsive purchases. Instead, it's important to cultivate a more balanced life, focusing on deeper and more enduring values. One way to regain control is by practicing mindfulness, being present in the moment and aware of how we are spending our time and energy. Another strategy is to set goals that challenge us and help us grow as individuals, seeking achievements that bring true, long-term satisfaction. In addition, controlling our use of technology and limiting consumption of superficial distractions can help us reconnect with what truly matters. By doing this, we begin to break the cycle of constant pleasure-seeking and reclaim ownership of our lives. In summary, the relentless pursuit of pleasure can become a trap, distancing us from a full and meaningful life. By understanding the risks of this illusion of freedom, we can start making more conscious choices, prioritizing deep values over quick satisfactions. The challenge is to reflect on our habits and recognize what truly matters for our growth. By regaining control, we can live more balanced lives with purpose and true meaning.